Welcome to the Gwenton Show. Today we've got an amazing show for you. We've got Richard Davies all the way from the Isle of Man. He got stranded. Claims there was a drone flying next to the British Airways flight. Was it Richard? We will find out when Richard arrives. One of the first guests that we had on the show, someone that I've known for quite a while, done a lot of work together. Richard Davies is here again. And this wasn't planned, people. Richard has actually missed his flight because somebody, we don't know if it was Richard himself, was down at Gatwick flying drones illegally. And because of that, Richard's flight was postponed, but he's not complaining. He's been given the Crown Plaza to relax in. But meanwhile, Richard's in the hotel. I'm like, Richard, come out. Let's have a chat. Richard, welcome back.
Hello, Gwenton, and thanks for having me, and thank you for coming to get me.
Yeah, no problem. So, you were one of the first guests on the show. Before we had sofas, before we had the artwork, we were just here freestyling. I remember, and this is where you look at dedication and progress. Doing podcasting before you even knew how to do podcasting. Yeah.
To me, this.
Yeah, but my thing is this. For other people out there, if you believe in something and you really want to get it done, you'll get it done. And I'm glad that you're here today so we could have this chat properly, because a lot has happened since then. You've left the prison service, you're over in the Isle of Man and trying to build something over in the Isle of Man. So we just want to look at that and see how we could go about implementing that and making sure that that comes to life. I know that your job at the Home Office that you went for, they didn't give it to you, which they must have been out of their mind. But again, sometimes the people they're looking for isn't for change, it's to number crunch and play games. And I know you're not a man of playing games, so the best person got the job in the end. Yeah. So just want to ask you, how is things going for you in the Isle of Man, and what developments have been made since our last conversation?
So the Isle of Man is all about slow change.
Yeah.
You have to pitch an idea and then you have to water it and water it.
Yeah.
So where I do youth intervention, and I'm trying to concentrate on the kids that go missing from home.
Okay.
Where they just want to prosecute them, send them to court, put them on a probation order,
Yeah.
and think it'll solve all their problems.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So lucky enough, this week I've got a meeting with the Home Office lady to discuss a 12-week mentoring program.
Okay.
Where I want to use people in prison, people who've been to prison. And what I'm trying to do is a diversionary route. So as you know yourself, some people get in trouble, go to court, but they've not been in trouble since.
Yeah.
And it takes a good couple of months just to get them to court. Couple of grand in the court fees. So why not just try something different with mentoring them for 12 weeks and see how that goes?
So when we say 12 weeks, then, because let's say then it takes about a month to even build a relationship, depending on the young person. So after the 12 weeks, what then happens after that? Is there any aftercare, follow-up?
Well, hopefully then, because if there's someone in charge of it, they can still monitor him and go and see the person, try and get him back into school.
Okay.
Because that's the big thing. What I found is most people are committing crimes because they're bored.
Yeah.
Especially on the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
They've got nothing to do. They're young. Drugs is easy available to them. Yeah. Alcohol's available to them. But they've got nowhere else to go and they get excluded from school and that's it.
Yeah.
So if we've got a mentoring program where people who've lived their lifestyles know the experiences, they can actually coach them to say, listen, it's not fun being in here.
Yeah.
Because I want to take away that probation side of it. Is actually, it's not something to be proud of. You're on probation. It's not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Some people look at it as like a badge of honor to be on probation. Oh, I've got to go and see my probation officer. Take that away and say, no, you're going on a mentoring program. all of a sudden it's not so keen.
But would we say that it's attractive to the few? And we have to make that clear. Isle of Man is declared officially, stamped back, one of the safest countries in the world. And when I was there, I felt safe. And it's not many places you could go in this world where you feel safe at this present time. So would we say for the young people there, because when I was last there, it was 16 young people that we had of concern. Is it the numbers grown or gone down?
The numbers have stayed the same.
Okay.
But what they're doing is highlight everything.
Okay.
So even though the Isle of Man is safe, and it is safe,
yeah,
but there's still the issues, and now the kids are starting to carry knives where before they never did.
And would we blame this drill and all of that music for that? Is that on the Isle of Man? Are they doing what Shank Man?
They all listen to it, but
okay,
not on the island. It's very hard to get any artists on to the Isle of Man anyway.
Yeah.
And I think they've got a lack of role models.
Yes.
So they want to copy what happens in Liverpool, Manchester,
Yeah.
Scotland.
So how far is Liverpool from Isle of Man?
Plane ride, 40 minutes.
Wow.
Get on the ferry.
And as we know, Liverpool is a total different place. Even people talk about London being this big, bad, dangerous place. And for those of us that have lived here, we don't really, you wonder sometimes, where's all the danger going on? Because you could just go about your business, you don't see anyone getting killed, anyone stabbing anyone. You might have a few little guys with their trousers dangling, but that's as far as it goes. When you go to Liverpool, it is a total different level of violence and drug taking up there.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. The Isle of Man is safe. It's safe. It's just little pockets now coming through.
Yeah.
Kids are like getting younger because we don't have the trafficking laws over there.
Yeah.
So you can technically use kids.
Okay.
And they're not facing trafficking laws. I think they're going to change it and bring it in.
Yeah.
But the kids don't actually think they're being exploited.
I remember I came over there to do a training and we met some of your colleagues as well. Really good people and determined to do their job and help the young people. And one thing that stuck out to me was the police officer that I met there, a senior police officer, a lady. And she had worked in the UK, in England, previously as a police officer. So her way of thinking was advanced. And remember we had discussions about the same trafficking and the NRM, National Referral Mechanism, which was set up for the Vietnamese people that were being trafficked in the cannabis farms. And she was like, I'm ready to implement whatever it is to keep these young people safe. And again, that was because of her experience working within the Met at a senior level and being able to make change. So sometimes is it that, and similar to yourself, coming from working in high-risk prison with some of the country's most dangerous men, a lot of them been on the front page of newspapers because they were previous celebrities, some of them, before they were incarcerated. Is it that the both of you have gone to the Isle of Man in 2025 speed and everybody else is in 2021 speed?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's the Isle of Man doesn't like change.
Yeah.
It's still got its own currency.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's a difficult task.
Yeah. But again, if somebody else was looking at it, let's play devil's advocate here, and I'm in government, and I'm saying 3 years ago there was only 16 young people we were concerned about. Middle coming up to summer, still 16 young people. What are we worried about?
It's because they don't highlight all the other little issues going on. So just because you've got 16 high risk, they're not counting all the ones that are still going missing from home. Yeah. So if we can concentrate on them, stop them going missing from home, it reduces the offences. And
that then leads me into the next conversation that me and you was having for about 2 years now. I've been having this conversation about opening up a home. I remember when I was over on the island with you, we went and visited some of the young people in the homes that you look after. And immediately then the idea then came to mind that there needs to be more of these homes where young people could get that love and get that support if they're not at home with their family, or if they decide that they're going to run away. What do you think? Is that vision still alive now, and do you think that it will fit the purpose that's needed?
I think the vision is still alive, but I think it needs to be more of like a community centre.
Okay.
A drop-off centre where they can come and feel like they can just engage with us.
Yeah.
Like then you can start putting classes on.
So like a hub. So if they're not in school, they could get their education. So not just about somewhere to sleep.
No, but if you could have like beds upstairs, so like, you know, when the youngsters get arrested and then they have to think, oh, where can we put them?
Yeah.
Let's put them in Whitehall or secure unit.
Yeah.
They can come to us.
Okay.
So the vision is still there.
I've not seen anything like that. I had a 13-year-old get arrested recently, and I had to drive to Essex and sit in the police station with him. I remember Southend Police Station, when I went upstairs, they had like a creche, a pool table, all of that there to make the young people feel like they weren't in a police station. So something like that.
But it's like you said, even though you could go and get them for one day, you have to build that trust up with them. So if you've got like a little community hub where they come in, you're getting to know them.
No.
And then it spreads word of mouth. Actually, do you know what? We can come here, we're relaxed, we're not judged. Yeah. And then you can start putting little courses on for them, like awareness courses, bring people that live those lifestyles that they will listen to
come over. And this is something that I say to a lot of people here. It's like, if the right support's in place, young people will change. I remember I went to a meeting last week and they kept saying Gwenton, and I said, could we stop for a minute? Crying sons, please. I'm not Superman. There's other members of staff, and this is what happens after a while. People then start thinking, oh, Richard, it's bigger than you. And this is why one of the biggest problems people have is duplicating themselves and getting the staff members that have the same ethos as you. We saw that in the prison service when we were trying to start the mediation program, the amount of slack that we had there. And then something that I think should have happened first, we should have trained the officers first, because once we trained them at the end, they all enjoyed it. But a lot of them were the same officers giving trouble and objecting to the mediation program in the beginning. And sometimes we need to educate the people, whether it's in government or the people in power. I know there's a lot of rich people in the Isle of Man, a lot of them. Yeah, it's like living in Dubai. Some of the houses that I saw in the Isle of Man were in the middle of the bushes, made of glass. I'm talking like, you know, when you watch that design homes on Channel 4 or whatever it is, Grand Design, and at the end you see this glass house underneath the floor. This is what they've got in the Isle of Man. Not just fresh air. They've got some modern houses. Even Richard, where Richard lives, you could play a football five-a-side match there and still have space to run around. Yeah?
I'm blessed. I'm lucky that
Richard's got a fine here.
That rent. I could afford that rent.
No, what? These are the things that people look at, and it's something that I'm going to take you away from this, because one thing with this show, we always solution-based. And we're going to now talk to young people out there that are paranoid. And also the government in this country. We're going to give them a solution. And the solution is this. If you've got a family that are fleeing for their life, not that we want everybody running to the Isle of Man, so that's not what we want, if that's what you're thinking. Similarly, you got the Isle of Wight, so they could go to Isle of Wight as well.
And Jersey.
Yeah? I remember when I first went to the Isle of Man and I come back and I was telling people, they're like, where's that? I was like, what? But even myself, until you told me about the Isle of Man, I thought you were going down to East London. What is it? Isle of Dogs? I thought Rich was moving to the Isle of Dogs. But a lot of people don't know that there's other places outside. We got Wales, we got Scotland. And the reason why I'm saying that is we're seeing a lot of young people being trapped in their small little surroundings, like having a goldfish bowl. And they walk around with samurai swords, they walk around with guns, they walk around with machetes, and they're killing each other. Their mums are stressed, grandma's having a heart attack, dad feels hopeless. All of that because they think that they have to be trapped in that area. And for you, because this is something that I want to put across to the viewers out there, because you've lived on another island before this, not far from here, Isle of Sheppey, which is not far. And if someone's in London right now, so let's say then you're in Brixton, and someone wants to kill you in Brixton right now, really passionately want to kill you, they've got their sharp machete and they want to take your life. For all those of you drug dealers out there that have got money, how long does it take from Brixton to get to the Isle of Sheppey?
About an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hour and a half. You could run to the Isle of Sheppey. You could go to Birmingham. You could go to Wolverhampton. You could even drive to Liverpool if you're really that scared. And the reason why I say that is a lot of these people are so trapped and brainwashed. They believe that they have to stay in their area. And by staying in the area, they end up on a murder charge, or they end up dead, or they've made enough drugs money to leave the game, but they end up getting robbed because they don't want to leave the area. How was it for you leaving and saying, you know, I'm going to leave everything on the Isle of Sheppey and go to the Isle of Man? How was that process for you?
It was difficult because obviously my wife, she left to go there with my 2 children. Yeah. I loved working in the prison. Yeah. Didn't want to leave it. COVID was about as well. So everyone was in lockdown. So when the decision come to make, it was all not my head, my heart.
Yeah.
To be with my kids. Yeah. Even though things didn't work out with my wife. Yeah. So, but I still have my kids, which is the main thing. So, but to leave, I had to get a permit. Okay. So to get to the Isle of Man, you have to get a permit.
And how much did that cost?
It was only like £13, but you have to have like either a work sponsor. But I was lucky because Lindsay's dad is from the Australia. He's a Manx, so I got through family ties.
So if you haven't got family over there, you can't go.
You have to have a job.
Can't be just turn up there and claim asylum.
Nope.
Why not?
So over there, you have to be living on the island for 5 years before you can get any benefits.
So if we got a ticket, come to Isle of Man and escape capture for 5 years, then we could say
you get no benefits.
Oh gosh! Don't go to the Isle of Man. You're not gonna get any jail. Say go somewhere else. Yeah,
go there. So you either have to be sponsored through work.
Yeah.
Which you can get, like if you're in the healthcare trade.
Okay.
Home Office, they look, government, social workers, they're looking for carers.
Yeah.
So there are ways in, and once you get your sponsor, you get your permit.
Okay. So just go to the Isle of Man. When's the carnival again?
TT's end of this month.
So get your costume, go there, pretend you're for carnival, and quickly get a sponsor. No, come back.
just go on the Isle of Man government webpage. Plenty of jobs.
Yeah, but although we laugh about that,
10% tax as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that attracted me over there. A lot of people would think of places like Switzerland and Dubai, but they don't understand the benefits of going to the Isle of Man. And not just that, the health benefits, because that's something that we have to look at now, where when you're on the Isle of Man, the fresh air as you get off the plane, when people normally go to other countries, they look at the fresh air and think, nah, it's what it is, I'd rather the sun. But the fresh air in the Isle of Man is something that money can't buy.
No, it is. The air is clean. Yeah. It's because there's no motorways.
Yeah.
One little dual carriage.
And mountains. Listen, people, Richard took me on the mountain, and the first time I had to check my seatbelt was on. I thought I was in Jamaica, the speed Richard was going. By the time we stopped, the brake pads was on fire. Yeah. Richard's a proper speeder when he's over there. But yeah, it's just mountains, nice mountains, and there's a lot of historical stuff in the Isle of Man if you take the time to look as well. And what was it, Heartbeat was filmed there?
I think so.
Yeah, Heartbeat was filmed there, and some, you still got some of them little houses that look like the old school Heartbeat houses.
Yeah, you've also got a place in Castletown which still has the old houses from like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have time to take you there. But next time I'll take you there, and it's like just how they used to live in the old days, how they used to all go out fishing.
And all that. Where was that house we went with the giant that used to live? What was it called? Yeah, the man. Yeah, there's a house there, and there used to be a big, massive, giant guy that used to live there, and you go there, and his handprint is still outside the house. We went there and put my hand on the man's handprint. Like, wow, this guy was at least 8 foot tall, massive guy, and with a bike as well, with the bike racing. Because I remember we was there to shut down the island.
So at the start of May, they'll shut down the mountain.
Yeah.
So you can only go coast roads to get from one end of the island to the other. And it's preparing for the TT, which is obviously the biggest motor like racing going, where unfortunately there's a couple of deaths every year. People just love to go there.
When you think about it, the country's got its own unique niche stuff to it. They've got the Bank of Isle of Man. The Bank of Isle of Man. What's the rates there? Like I want to get a bank account there with the 10%. We might move Crying Sons over there, and HMRC, don't listen to me on that. I'm staying right where I am. But
the downside is, when the weather's bad, the boats don't come in. That means food doesn't come in.
Yeah.
So sometimes they do run out of food, like bread. And a lot of time if the boat's like, if you're waiting for an Amazon parcel,
you have to wait.
Next day delivery could be a week, especially if the weather's bad and the planes don't fly.
So wait, so you pay for Prime and it's not Prime?
Exactly. But it's out of their control.
Yeah, because this is the thing when you're separate. And if we look now, no matter what country you go to, you're going to have your benefits. And then they're not in war. Is Isle of Man in war with anyone? Okay. Have you ever heard of the army going to war with anyone there? All right. So anyone, when the war kicks off, just go to Isle of Man. That's where I'm going. Not no bunker. I'm not staying in a bunker in this country. I'm like, Rich,
come stay with me.
I'm coming over. We're packing the bags. We're off. But laugh and jokes aside, it's this. No matter where you go in the world, there's a problem. I went to Trinidad, and when I was in Trinidad, there was problems in Trinidad. You go to Barbados, there's problems there. Anywhere in the world where it's not just poverty. I think culture. I think culture drives it, because a lot of these young people in the Isle of Man, if we really strip it back, you find some of them that have gone through stuff or through their parents. But it's that trying to find yourself, a part of youth culture, and then it then goes into exploitation, and then it turns into something else. And I think a lot of the time people get it confused and think that because of crime, there has to be poverty connected to it, or there has to be some other darkness. It could just be young people trying to find themselves. I remember working in Essex some years ago, and all these young boys come from good homes. They all wanted to be like the rappers, and they all looked up to London guys. It looked like a group of men had gone from London and just got their mums pregnant and disappeared. And the young boys were there, like, I've got a cousin in London, do you know him? And I'm like, look, London's a big place. I won't know your dad or your cousin. But it just shows again, the mums were there dealing with the same thing that the young boys in London was giving their mum stress about. So it's a part of youth culture.
Some of the kids just want the easy money. They don't want to go to work because they've never had to.
Yeah.
So when they're being offered 500 quid just to take a parcel, to them it's easy money. And then when you're trying to say to them, listen, the police can take that money anytime they want because you can't prove it, they don't get it.
What I get with a lot of my young ones is that I'm on A18, nothing can happen to me. And
Isle of Man, it does. So
yeah,
they throw massive charges for drug offences over there.
Okay.
Like, if you get stopped, you're going to court just for a split.
Would you say that's a bad or a good thing?
I think it's a lot of wasted government money, big money.
But is it then to keep the country's reputation on the raps?
I think it's a scare factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not going to tolerate it, so we're going to be hard on it.
Because there's another country, don't quote me on it, I'm not even going to try and say I remember, but there's a country where the president goes out on his motorbike. I'm going to find the clip and make sure we put it in. He goes out on his motorbike and shoots people that sell or take drugs in his country. like to the extreme, because he's like, I don't want no drugs in my country because it's the damage that it does. He personally goes out, he wears a leather jacket, and he goes out himself and deals with the drug dealers and drug
I've seen that.
You've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Duterte's rise to power began here in this city called Davao, nearly 30 years ago when he became mayor.
So this place is called Jack's Ridge, but now it's being named Duterte City.
Duterte.
He's a good president.
Reverence to their leader has seeped into every aspect of daily life here. His name and images ubiquitous across souvenir stores, on t-shirts, magnets, and even on the fruit itself.
Do you like Duterte?
Yes.
Do you like his fruit?
Yeah.
The once crime-ridden city of Davao is now considered the safest in the Philippines. Critics say that's because this is where Duterte first began legitimizing extrajudicial killings.
Our job was to kill drug pushers.
Edgar Matabato says he spent 25 years as part of the long-rumored Davao Death Squad, a band of volunteers who, he says, worked closely with the police to clean up that city.
I thought we'd be helping the good Filipinos, that we were only killing bad people.
We met Matabato after being led on a circuitous journey. Matabato points a clear finger when asked about the chain of command.
Was the President Duterte, involved in these kinds of killings? Did he give an order?
Yes, our job was to kill the bad people he ordered us to. Personally, I've killed almost 50.
Matabato, that's his city ID card, signed, he says, by Duterte himself, surrendered to authorities in October.
Duterte then ordered us to massacre the mosques of the Muslims.
Has testified before a Senate committee probing the spike in killings allegedly linked to the war on drugs, and is now awaiting trial.
Do you feel like your life is in danger right now?
Yes, up to now, I know that they will kill me.
Duterte has denied knowing Matabato, but in a speech late Monday seemed to admit that he had taken personal part in at least the search for drug suspects back when he was mayor.
In Davao, I used to do it personally, just to show to the guys that if I can do it, why can't you? And I go around Davao with a motorcycle, with a big bike, and I would just patrol the streets and looking for trouble also.
Back in the capital, we are with the police as they begin rounding up hundreds in a display of force.
So the SWAT team and the police are now heading into a big square where they're going to start to interview the locals to see who might be drug dealers, might be drug users.
Women and children are separated from the men. Police say it's an opportunity for drug users and dealers to surrender, come clean, and avoid being hunted down. Instead, the drug suspects end up here, the Quezon City Jail, where the effects of the drug campaign are unmistakable.
Oh my God, it's jammed. Look at this.
The ideal capacity of this facility should be 800 inmates only.
Okay.
But right now we have 3,319.
Inmates pile on top of each other, waiting for their day in court, which can take years. Not surprisingly, many say they are in fear for their lives.
What's your recommendation to those that are drug dealers?
My advice to them, if they're still into it, stop it. For sure, President Duterte's administration will not stop hunting them.
And some fear it is a hunt that can reach over the prison walls, like what is believed to have happened to local Mayor Rolando Espinosa, who Duterte had accused of being a drug kingpin.
He actually had surrendered. In fact, he was in jail. And yet, at 4 in the morning, he was served a search warrant and was supposed to have engaged in a firefight.
Police say the mayor pulled out a gun, forcing them to kill him.
How could he even have a gun? He was already in jail.
Rolando Espinosa.
We went to a police press conference about the killing of the mayor and another politician gunned down by the police.
Here in the Philippines, there were 2 killings of politicians within a week by police. Is that because of the campaign?
During the time of the search, there was resistance. And especially if the life of the officers are threatened, then normally they can defend themselves.
But the resistance was what? What happened that led to the confrontation and then the killing?
The police rep refuses to go further.
We are still waiting for the details of the investigation.
But federal investigators would later determine that the imprisoned mayor was assassinated by the police. Last week, President Duterte says President-elect Trump told him in a phone call,
You're doing great. I know what's you worry about these Americans criticizing you. You're doing good. Go ahead.
In an email to ABC News, the Trump transition team acknowledged receiving a congratulatory call from Duterte, but said that, quote, there wasn't enough time on that courtesy call to talk about the details of policies. For now, law and order wears a pained face as another mother must bid farewell to her son without understanding why.
There's no justice when they killed him. I want to give him a proper funeral.
My prayers are with you.
What? This guy, he doesn't play around. So when we look at that, I know that the people not shooting anyone in Isle of Man, but do you think if the UK had a zero tolerance on drug dealing, we would see a reduction in drug dealing in this country?
Do you think it's been around for how many years?
But if people started getting 20 years for...
They're getting 20 years now, people. So
for weed.
It's the money involved.
Yeah.
Is crazy. That's why you're not going to stop it.
All right. I'll give you another thing I said to someone last week. And a lot of people were like, whoa, I didn't think about that. I believe that every police officer that commits crime should get life. And I'll tell you why before you tell me what you think. They're meant to uphold the law and be at the highest standard. When you go in the court and the police officer said, Richard's done this, the judge is not even questioning him because you're meant to be of the highest standard as a police officer. I believe every single police officer that embarrasses the oath that they took to uphold the law should get life in prison. What do you say to that?
I wouldn't go life.
Yeah.
Because you need some hope.
Okay.
But I think straight away you should be discharged.
Yeah.
And I do think, yeah, you should face, because if normal public would end up in prison for some of their offences. So they should end up in prison, but they should have the correct tariff.
All right. I'll put it another way then, bring it closer to home. For someone that's worked in the prison service for years, and you've known there's been officers around, and you've worked with prisoners that have got life, many of them, they're not coming out for now. Do you think a prison officer that commits crime should get life sentence? And think how that would have impacted you when you was working in there. One of your colleagues starts doing drug dealing or sleeping with a prisoner. And then, because of that person, people then start looking at you and thinking, oh, I wonder if Richard's dodgy.
I personally wouldn't like to see anyone life in prison.
Yeah.
Because I've always...
Yeah, life is... But again, remember this. Life for somebody that's been given the highest privilege, you're looking after people that's doing life, trying to tell them, change your life, do the right thing. Meanwhile, you're exploiting them. Because a prisoner can't exploit you, Remember this. Even if a prisoner says to you, listen, how much you making? And you say, yeah, I'm making £1,400 a month. Prisoner's like, joking, I'll pay you that in 1 week. Who's exploiting who there? I'm in jail. You're meant to follow the rules of what you got on your induction and turn me in. Because I haven't learned my lesson, I'm still corrupted. I'm even now trying to corrupt you. So the fact that you're going to be allowed to be corrupted with me, who's exploiting who? The prison officer or the prisoner is the exploiter there?
Both, actually, because the officer's going up to him and telling him what he earns anyway.
Yeah.
And hinting, oh, I can't afford to do this, I can't afford to do that. Probably knowing that person on the wing is involved in something. Yeah. But then it comes down to personal choice. It's down to the officers. Now, do you know what? I want to make a difference. Yeah. And I'll give you a prime example. Obviously, my wife got seriously assaulted in the prison.
Yeah.
Someone came up to me and said, Richard, I'll put money on his head. Yeah. I could have easily said, yeah, go on then. He said, for free.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I'm not going to give you his name. And as a man, I could have protected my wife then and said, do you know what? I could have really got him seriously hurt. But how would that be me teaching him that actually I don't want you to do violence?
No, but you've just answered my question, Richard. Someone of the highest standard, you're beneath the governor and the security. How have you allowed yourself to be corrupted to be bringing in drugs for me?
I wouldn't.
No, I know you wouldn't, but the point what I'm saying is, it's all right, let's move away from drugs.
It's money, isn't it? It's money. So you don't know their circumstances at home.
A prison officer comes in and I'm like, miss, you look sexy today, what have you done to your hair? Oh, Quentin, have you got a boyfriend? No, I haven't. What's gone wrong there?
She should have challenged you on the boundaries there, but she likes the flattery. So obviously, it's, do you know what? It's so difficult because everyone's individual.
Yeah.
I can't answer what they're thinking.
No, but again, you all meant to follow the same rules. It's not an individual mission. As a prison officer, you all follow the same guidelines.
I didn't follow the rules.
No, I know, and this is why you upset people. But there's a difference, Richard. By you going and talking to someone when they want to commit suicide and nobody else wants to talk to them, that's you saying, my human side, if I get in trouble for stopping this guy killing himself, I'm going to do that. When you're trying to set up a mediation program and everyone else is upset, that's your human side saying, I'm going to do a little bit more than my job. There's a difference when I'm saying, oh, miss, you look so lovely. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to come open your cell door later. What the hell?
It's the human side, because if you take COVID, for instance, they were locked up for 23 hours, 45 minutes, and they were supposed to shower, exercise all in that time. I used to go up and get people out individually and shower.
You can't get no charges for it, you're about to say.
No, I can't. So I used to go and get them out individually and shower them, and I could do it because we could spur off some things you can't spur off. But what I found is they respected me more for doing that
than leaving them.
And the little things. So when they had their 15 minutes, they actually had 15 minutes of fresh air.
Yeah.
Not, I've got to shower, clean my cell. So sometimes I think officers make it difficult for themselves because they don't think it's outside the box.
But then if we look at even old school policing, I heard someone on LBC say this. When it was the police force, to the police service, the difference is most of them were ex-army men. And the same thing with the prison service. When you go to places like Dorset, it's most ex-army military men in there. It's a total different feel to someone like yourself that want to have a heart. Those men are like, bang ups at this time, I don't care. This is how it goes. Follow the rules. We're not friends. There's no bending. Like the straight old school behind you understand? Make your bed pack. You're going to run around the fields. All of that stuff. You're like, wait a minute, what's the difference? Why are these ex-military men like this in the prison service? Because you could always tell the difference when you go to a prison and you see someone that's been in the army before to somebody else that's just joined the prison service. There's no bending with them.
Because they've just, in the army, they got no choice. They follow the rules or they're disciplined, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think the prison service is moving forward. But it's probably moving backwards. But what I'm saying is you need people to think outside the box because you need that human side of you. So let's say you have a really bad phone call. You just found out your daughter's very sick and all that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to want to roll around the floor on you to get you behind your door. I'd rather sit and talk to you for an extra half hour and see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Now, if that's bad, then there's something wrong with the world because you're just being put behind the door to fester that. Who knows? It might be too much for you. You might kill yourself.
Yeah.
But if you've had that half hour to go, right, thank you so much. I'm going to source you a phone call. I'm going to ring to find out for you and come back and say, listen, I found out your daughter's fine. You're going to be a lot more eased. You're not going to be hyped up to think, right, do you know what? I'll do anything to get down the six, see the #1 governor, because I'll guarantee you I'll get what I want if I do that.
Down there. And these are some of the things that I think that the prison service, you should do a handbook for code of conduct outside the code of conduct. You understand? The booster, code of conduct booster, because some of the stuff I saw you doing in there, even being able to control some of them guys just out of respect, other officers couldn't do that. They would have been petrified to have all of them out at the same time. And I think people need to govern with respect and consent instead of trying to push people around. And I think that's what's happened for far too long, why we've seen no change in the prison service. And it's also the outcomes. I think one of the biggest reasons for reoffending is the lack of outcomes, tangible outcomes, where prison's just a holding space to preserve life, but not to educate and empower. Because I know you've always been big on hope, to empower people and educate them to come out. If I go to prison for murdering someone, I come out after 30 years, what have I learned?
Nothing. If you look at the first 10 years, you're in prison, you don't fit the criteria to do many of the courses because you've got too long to serve. So what's that telling you? What can you do for 10 years? Then all of a sudden, after 10 years, you start doing the courses. Oh, look how he's changed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the whole game.
But by that time, you've met 100 people on the way that tell you how to beat the courses.
But to me, there's always victims out there.
Yeah.
So you always have to remember there's victims and their families. Okay, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And it's just about, but how do you turn around to someone who's got 30 years? So you imagine if you come in and say, right, if you keep your head down for 10 years, adjudication free, nicking free, no phones, no drugs, I'm going to take 5 to 7 years off your sentence.
Yeah.
How many people would think, I want that?
Yeah.
How much violence will go?
Will reduce. And this is what I'm saying again. I hope that the Ministry for Justice is watching this, because we've given them a lot of gems for free on here. If you want Richard, commission him in, and you should have gave him the Home Office job. But my whole thing now is this: we know what the problem is. So £250,000. Here you go, Richard. What are your solutions?
£250,000.
Yeah.
I'd look at educating people in how to engage in audiences.
Okay.
So how they can actually speak to get their voice heard. So I did a thing with Davies. He came in, it was called Spellbound, it's now called Pitching with Confidence.
Okay.
And it gives you the confidence to stand there and tell your story. So if you take some angry young people that come in who don't know how to talk to you, and all they think, if I scream and shout, because all my life I've screamed and shout, I've got what I wanted, it's not going to work in prison. But if you can actually sit there and tell them how you feel and express yourself, people will listen more.
Yeah.
So I'd do that. I'd also like bring in specialists, people who've lived their lifestyle to deliver courses. Because I think I noticed when I brought the mediation program in, you had the room in seconds. When I brought Michael Macy in, he had the room in seconds.
Yeah.
And obviously Lord Hastings, he has the room in seconds as well.
He's different. Yeah.
But when you bring ex-offenders in to deliver programs, they respect you and they listen. And then they listen to your struggles of you going to the garage with coppers to pay for your petrol, where you said, I could have easily gone and done a robbery.
Yeah, yeah.
But you didn't want to go back to prison. And it sinks in with some of them. Some are not ready for change. Some don't want it.
Yeah, as you know, there's some people that they don't want to change. And we need to be honest.
They don't want it. They're not ready.
When will they be ready? Some people have done 20, 30 years in prison and they still don't want to listen.
Is that because they were institutionalized? Is that because they know no different now? Because they haven't been given the opportunities to change?
I think we've got a mixture of that, but we've also got some people that are defiant and believe that they have come to prison and got the education they need to become a better criminal. You've got someone in prison paying their mortgage from jail, gone in for drug dealing, but making even more money now in prison, drug dealing, than what they were making outside. What do you say to that person?
That there's more to life.
Yeah.
If you want to be stuck in a prison, you know, the smell's different, you'll run like limited time out. If you want to go to a shop, you can't. If you look at me, I've flown over, went to the Army Rugby Navy match, saw friends. Lucky enough, my flight got cancelled because of the drone activity. I've got to meet up with you again.
Yeah.
These are all things you can do, spur of the moment stuff. In prison, you can't do anything.
But people want to kill me outside, Rich, so I'm happier in here. My family are happy I'm in here, and I'm able to pay for everyone's living. And I've got a girlfriend in there, prison officer.
That's choice he's making. if that's someone's mindset, you can't change that.
You see,
you can't change that.
I got
but it's
I got everything I need in there. I don't have to pay rent, council tax, and I'm living good.
Are you living good?
I know. And this is the reality of it. Sometimes people believe that their contained environment is as good as it gets. And if we look at it, we're all promised, if we're lucky, 72 years on the planet. And for you to sit in a prison cell for 40 or 30 years of that, what life have you lived?
Even though I didn't want to go to the Isle of Man,
yeah,
and things have not worked out relationship-wise,
yeah,
but I'm still blessed because I've got my kids.
Yeah,
I'm still blessed because I can fly back to England, meet up with my friends. Do you know what I mean? I still have options. I could have easily turned around and said,
yeah,
do you know what? I'm not going to be a dad. I'm going to go back and do the job I love.
Yeah,
and go back into a system that I know didn't respect me for what I did.
Yeah,
and the only respect I got was from the men I worked with. So why would I want to put myself back into that? Because I do miss it. But if I was to go back, it had to be a different role.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going back just to that battling all the time, just to like get people in segregation their proper treatment. Because I'm a one person fighting a system that didn't want to change.
Again, it's the system's not set up for what you was offering. I think if you came back at a senior strategic level, it will be different because the governors and everyone will have to follow what guidance you're giving them.
I don't think I'll be allowed to now because I write to so many now.
Yeah.
Since I've left the job, like I've got Anton that rings me every Tuesday from his PIN phone.
Okay.
I write to Carl Des, Carlos. So
you're in too deep, Rich.
Do you know what? All it is doing is still checking on them.
Yeah.
Still making sure they're going down, like keeping the hope. They're doing a long time.
Yeah.
And what I don't want them to do is sink back to like, do you know what? There's no hope. There's no officer here fighting for me, like just because my trainers are in reception and I've got to wait another 6 weeks for them.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I write to them, it's nice to get that feeling. What I don't understand is it cost for me to write to get a reply off an email.
Yeah.
Internet's free.
Yeah, but they have to make money somehow. So what I'll say to you now, if you had 3 suggestions how to change the system and also with what you're doing, what would you do?
First suggestion would anyone on a detox program, I'd have one jail just for drugs. That way you'd eliminate certain people wanting like to sell drugs to them, because if they're all in one jail getting the treatment they need, straight away you're taking away the use of drugs, selling.
So what you're saying, more therapeutic units like Grendon?
Not just therapeutic, but like it's more like the 12-week step program. So you go there, get clean, then move on. So it's like a revolving door, but hopefully by that time you should be come off it. But let's admit, a lot of people do drugs in prison to pass the time.
Is it about trying to get a release from the pain of
being stuck in there?
Yeah.
So second thing I would look at, but you have to take into account there are victims out there and you have to respect that they've not got loved ones coming home.
Yeah.
But looking at, if you go to prison for 20, 25 years and you are good for 10 years, look about reducing their sentence.
Okay.
Because they're proving actually I can survive in an environment where violence is at an all-time high, self-harm's at an all-time high, and if you don't get involved in all that, you should be given some credit.
Cool.
And then third thing I'd say is start bringing in ex-offenders to do the programs, to teach them actually it's a struggle when we get out, because like you said, people won't talk to you if you're not earning more money than them. But that's not the reality. You have to be able to say, I went through the hard time to get to where I am.
Wow, impactful show. So people, if you look at what Richard just said there, it's got him in a lot of trouble. His human side. Richard's a man that likes to sacrifice even his job to do the right thing and help people out, sometimes to his own detriment. So what we look at from that whole show is do what your heart tells you to do. You can't fight against who you are as a person. I've known Richard for many years and he hasn't changed. The only one bad thing I saw Richard do, he did lock my business partner in the toilet, but the two of them didn't get along at that time. That's the first time I see Richard do something on the dark side. But apart from that, Richard's always followed his heart, and I've seen him upset many prison officers and governors in his time, but he didn't stop, and he was able, and we have to give him his flowers in public, to bring about the first ever recognized mediation program in this country that was independent, made up solely of prisoners that was committing crime in prison. These were the troublemakers of the mobile phones with the knives and maybe drug dealing. And Richard was able to bring at least, how much of them? The first round, how much do we have? We had 12 of the first round, and most of them was all known people, hit the newspapers.
Let's put it in context. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
If you look at the time, violence was at an all-time high.
Yeah. How much is it for a helicopter? Because that's something someone asked me the other day. For each helicopter to land at the prison.
Thousands. Yeah. But if you think we're having an air ambulance every month, stabbings was through the roof. And I had to choose those guys because if I'm asking someone to go in there to put your knife down, who are they going to listen to? Because if you've got someone who's not high ranked or respected and comes into someone like you when you're in and said, go in and put your knife down, what's going to happen to him?
Mind you, I never had a knife in prison. I had a girlfriend maybe, but not a knife.
Let's say you did have a knife and someone who shouldn't even come into your cell to say, put your knife down, what would happen to him?
No, I get what you're saying. It's about the hierarchy and the respect. But the point is, no one else, not even the security for it would work. But he soon came around when he saw that. And I think one of the things as well is your reputation. And I think that's one of the things that the governors realized. That I remember I was going in there, I refused to even bring milk because I didn't want them to think I was smuggling anything in. So even the milk, I'll give it to Richard or my business partner, Bobby. And I'm like, you bring the milk in because I don't want them to think I'm even bringing a biscuit. But change, the only way for change to come is working outside the box. And we'll be following Richard's journey on how things are developing in the Isle of Man. And for any of you out there that think of playing with Richard, Richard's got access to the Gwenton Show.